Which camera is going to be better for you, the Sony A7 III or the Sony A7C? In this video, we're going to quickly break down the specs and the features of these two cameras to help you decide which one is going to be better for your needs. Let's get started. Welcome back, guys, and we're diving in to check out the A7 III versus the A7C. These are two capable cameras with some major and minor differences, and we're breaking down the facts. We're going to figure out which one's going to be better for you, and by the end of this video, I want you to drop down which one you're leaning towards and why. And if you haven't seen one of my videos, my name's Stefan Malloch. I do a lot of photography and filmmaking news reviews and tutorials, so if you do end up liking this content in this video, consider hitting that like and subscribe button, join the community, and by doing that, you're automatically entered to win stuff like lenses, gear, and whatever else we got going on at the time. So having said all that, let's dive in and check out these two cameras. Alright, so jumping in, here is everything that you're going to pretty much need to know about these two cameras. And there's a lot to cover, so I will try and bunch some things into categories to keep this video relatively reasonable. Let's start off with the size of these two. Obviously the A7C is supposed to be the compact version of the A7 III, but in all honesty, there's really not that much of a difference. It's pretty much an A7 III with the top chopped off. There's about 1/3 of a pound difference, which really isn't that much. I guess it really depends on who you are. When looking at the overall physical size and weight, well, the A7C is the smaller camera, but it does come at a cost. And that cost is overall ergonomics, handling, and the controls available. From the placement and size of the EVF, to the lack of custom buttons and front dial, the A7C takes after the A6000 series cameras in a lot of ways. For a lot of people, myself included, the A7 III is going to be far superior when it comes to overall ergonomics and controls. Being an important part of a mirrorless camera, let's look at the EVF in a bit more detail. Now we know that the A7C's EVF is smaller, but being 2 years newer, it must have higher resolution, right? Well, it's actually not the case. The A7 III and the A7C have the exact same subpar EVF from a few years ago. And this is a bit of a disappointment, so if you ask me, given its bigger size, the edge does go to the A7 III. Unfortunately, the rear LCD screen is the exact same story. It's the same resolution, but the A7C does have a big advantage. Depending on who you ask, it finally has a fully articulating screen, which is great news for who this camera was actually targeted for, vloggers and creators. This is one of the main things that was missing with the A7 III when it came out. They both have the amazing industry-leading Z-type battery, absolutely no complaints there. As far as card slots are concerned, however, the A7 III does sport two, but Sony's opted for only one in the A7C, ruling out any true professional work. Next up is the menu system, and Sony's not exactly known for its intuitive menu system. It does offer a heck of a lot of options though. Some people did find it a bit overwhelming in the A7 III, but when the A7S III came along, they introduced a new menu system, along with touchscreen controls. Unfortunately, neither of those things made their way to the A7C, so it's basically the same old menu system. The A7C also shares the same 24 megapixel backside illuminated sensor from the A7 III released a few years ago. It would have been nice to see something new, but it is still a very capable sensor, so you can expect about the same performance. However, the A7C in initial testing has shown to be about 1/3 of a stop better in dynamic range as well as noise performance. Also, a few things worth noting in terms of function. The A7C has an electronic front curtain that cannot be disabled, where you can on the A7 III for some reason. As well, the A7C does cap out at 1/4000th of a second shooting speed, where the A7 III will go up to 1/8000th. As far as video is concerned, although the A7C is targeted for video shooters, it offers the same resolution and frame rates as the A7 III, capped out at 4K 30. It's also limited to 8-bit as well, quite unfortunate as we would have liked to see 10 at this point. It does have some advantages when it comes to video autofocus like real-time tracking and eye autofocus in video, and also does away with the recording time limit that you find on the A7 III. Unfortunately, rolling shutter performance still isn't great, and there are some bugs still left over from the A7 III, including the LCD blackout in some situations when using an external monitor, for example. Little things that should have been fixed by now. The A7C's fully articulating screen in theory should make video shooting a lot more enjoyable. It also has a focus speed selecting option where the A7 III does not, but when it comes to overall video functionality, they're pretty much the same. The A7C also inherited the amazing autofocus capabilities of the A7 III and improved on it in video. We touched on a few of those features which do make it a little bit superior when it comes to video, as well as having the advantage of real-time tracking. It's pretty much the same system, just improved. Autofocus as a whole, when you look at photo and video, does have the edge going to the A7C. Another unfortunate subject is the IBIS. The A7 III's IBIS, although welcomed, isn't known for its tremendous performance, and the A7C, being a smaller body, had to be completely redesigned and unfortunately is actually a little bit worse than the A7 III. The inclusion of electronic image stabilization was a possibility, but Sony opted out of it. Pretty disappointing. So let's finally talk about the price of these two. The A7 III comes in at about $2,000 MSRP, but you can constantly find it on sale now for about $1,800. And $1,800 US is exactly what the A7C is priced at. For me, this is definitely a little bit overpriced considering what you get, but I guess it all really depends on your needs. I would have liked to seen this priced at about $1,500, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it reduced in the near future. Personally, for me and my needs, I would still go with the A7 III at this point. My main considerations being the 2 card slots, and I like the size, the ergonomics, and the controls of the A7 III over the A7C. I obviously do shoot a lot of video for the YouTube channel, but I'm also a professional photographer and do rely on it for photography work just as much. When you're choosing one of these cameras, ask yourself what you're going to be using it most for. Are you just going to be focusing on video, utilizing those capabilities, and you aren't overly concerned with photography work? Is size and weight an absolutely huge factor for you? Do you absolutely need a flip screen? If the answer is yes, maybe consider the new A7C, especially if it does go on sale. If you're a photographer primarily that does shoot a little bit of video and wants to have pretty much the same capabilities with the inclusion of 2 card slots for professional redundancy, then it's a no-brainer. If you ask me, the A7 III is a true hybrid camera, still one of the best, where the A7C definitely has other things in mind. Ask yourself these questions so you can figure out which one's going to be best for you. At the end of the day, regardless of which camera you choose, they're going to do a fantastic job and give you great results. After all, it's pretty much the same camera, just packaged differently. If you still can't decide, I have a ton of reviews and comparisons on lenses, cameras, everything to do with this system. It's just worked really well for me. From my YouTube channel to winning photography awards, these cameras can do it all. Whatever you decide, I can completely recommend this system. There you have it, guys. There's my quick breakdown between these 2 cameras, their specs and the features that are relevant. And I hope this video helped you out. If you're ready to pick up either one of these, I will drop affiliate links down below. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time.